There's two types of people in this world. Those who get annoyed by the mere fact that Nicolas Cage has released 50 movies this year, and those who rejoice by the fact that it's only 50 movies, and not 100. I'm the latter of those two.
Everything's gonna be A-okay.
Welcome to Dumb Down, a show where we summarize movies in hopes of understanding them better. Today, we dumb down Running with the Devil. A movie that surprised me in ways you can't imagine. This isn't your typical Nicolas Cage movie, because for once, in a very, very long time, he's playing a character that's very subdued and relaxed. If you've ever seen a movie with Nicolas Cage, you will know that for the most part, there are two things that are guaranteed. One, Cage will go crazy.
What am I, a fucking retard, man? Am I a fucking retard, huh? I know what this is. You're trying to stop me out because of a crazy little nephew being around. Well, vive la fucking France, man!
And two, his hairline will disappear.
He scored a touchdown!
Crack talking.
This guy's hair, like, in each movie, is getting worse and worse. But there's no time to talk about that. Let's talk about the character that Nicolas Cage is playing in this movie. He goes by the name of The Cook, a man who owns an Italian restaurant and does a bit of drug dealing on the side. His character is pretty quiet, methodical, and speaks terrible Spanish.
Vas a tratar conmigo por un tiempo.
Then we have Lawrence Fishburne, who plays the complete opposite. A man who's loud and acts how you expect Nicolas Cage to act in this movie. Snorts coke, hires prostitutes with strap-ons, and pretty much plays a self-destructive character.
You're gonna take him to bat.
Right after I finish setting that pussy on fire.
The movie starts somewhere in South America, where a man decides to become a mule to transport drugs. Along the way, you meet several characters that never really come back into the story, and they're just there to make the movie look more complex than it already is. Like, for example, this drug lord who kills one delivery man who came up short with the supply. He tells him, "Oh, don't worry, it's okay." Offers him some food, tells him, "Hey, I'm gonna go get some salsa, I'll be right back." Gets a knife, kills him.
¿Cuántas veces te dije que no me cortaras la pinche mercancía? ¿Cuántas veces, güey? Te dije, güey, pinche terco, cabrón.
Calls in someone else, hires a new guy, and that character disappears from the rest of the movie. He has one short interaction with Nicolas Cage, and that's it. But even with all the characters, the messy plot, there's something to be enjoyed about this movie, because Lawrence Fishburne goes all out crazy. A man who's completely unreliable at his job, a man who just doesn't give a fuck. Lawrence plays a character named The Man, who is working with Cage to transport drugs for the boss, played by Barry Pepper, a very underrated and underused actor. Along the way, we have a cop who is looking for both the cook and the man. She suspects that both are big-time drug dealers, but just doesn't have the proof. Not to mention, she witnesses a horrific scene at the beginning of the movie. How exactly does she know that Nicolas Cage and Lawrence Fishburne are involved? It's never really explained, you just have to go along with it. Plus, she's also torturing this guy who we never really get to know much about. She's just trying to get information out of him. But let's fast forward a bit to one of the best scenes of the movie. After Fishburne gets questioned by the cop, in a scene where he's used more coke than probably Charlie Sheen, he comes clean to Nicolas Cage, and he admits that he's been using a lot of drugs, a lot of the supply, and that he was visited by the cop. He promises Cage that he never said anything, that they're okay, but he isn't, that he needs help, that he's at his lowest point. He promises that he will stop using those drugs and wants to get clean, only to betray Cage in the following scene. Both are hiking and they're transporting drugs in different backpacks. Fishburne loses the bag. Cage gets upset, telling him that they need to find it immediately.
You show up short, we're both dead.
Let's fast forward a bit one more time. Cage is now holding on to dear life, and Fishburne says he's going to deal with the cartel himself, and lets Cage go to his death. So Fishburne, knowing what he did, starts looking for the backpack. And somehow, after falling into the river, he finds the backpack just sitting there waiting for him.
Wow, how convenient is fucking that?
He grabs the bag, tells the transport that Cage is dead, that he has both bags of drugs. Now, since this movie has the best screenwriting ever,
Okay.
the writers decide to give him a moment where he actually has remorse. He feels bad for killing Nicolas Cage. He feels regretful with what the drugs have done to him. only to be followed by a scene where he goes into a club dancing and showing off his new suit. He's later called in to hand over the drugs. And you would think the movie ends here, without any consequences. Fishburne gets paid, everything's fine. No! Because this movie drops us with the biggest twist, worthy of an M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Hey man, where is everybody?
We find out that Cage actually survived the fall and informed the boss that he was betrayed. All this time, Fishburne thought that he was out on the clear, but he gets his comeuppance. I told you this movie has great screenwriting.
What a twist!
Fishburne gets tied up, he's smeared with gasoline, gets a little speech by Nicolas Cage, which was the creme of the crop.
For you, right here, right now. It's over.
Fishburne burns, Cage gets his money and goes back to his Italian restaurant. But what happens to the cop? Well, she finds him. How? We never get those answers. So she finds Nicolas Cage's restaurant, sits down, chats for a bit.
You're never gonna get caught, you know? Never.
And instead of arresting him, which is what she's been trying to do since the beginning of the movie, she just takes out a gun from her purse and shoots him.
What's that for? You gonna arrest me?
No.
All she says is that we need less people like you in the world. The credits roll and the movie ends. I'm guessing that the director thought it was clever and unexpected to do that, but for me, this was just abrupt. It left more questions than answers for the rest of the movie. Either way, I had fun with this trashy movie. A lot of great scenes with Fishburne going crazy and doing things that don't make much sense. Characters that just come in and leave the movie with no explanation, but there's some cool shots in South America, and actually for the production value, it looks like a movie that would have come out in theaters back in the 90s. So do I recommend this movie? Heck, sure. I got it at Redbox for $1.50 and quite enjoyed it for what it was. This was Running with the Devil, dumbed down. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. Also hit that bell button to get all great notifications on Dumbed Down. Make sure to also follow us on Instagram. See ya! Bye!
Get the fuck out of here now.
If you want any more of that, you can come by and see us again, yeah?
Bitches in the back.
Bitches in the back. Bitches in the back. Bitches
In the back. Save me some though.
Yeah. Ooh.